All right, welcome everybody to our podcast number 2 of the Doc and Jock Show. I'm Joe Rosenthal. This is Dr. Paul Ashbrook, and today we are welcomed by Ashley Wood. She is going to be talking on lots of different topics today, from fitness, psychology. We're gonna hit everything today. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it right off to Dr. Ashbrook, and she's going to introduce Ashley Wood.
All right, perfect. So I know Ashley going back to our time at San Diego State. During that time, she was playing on the women's golf team. She then transitioned into the master's program in sports psychology with me. Now she's doing some big things up in Lake Tahoe, kind of balancing the fitness side as well as the mental side. So thank you for joining us. And I guess tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now within the world of golf.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited to talk golf and sports psych. And after the Masters, it's a good time. So yeah, I'm up in Lake Tahoe. It's a kind of a funny place to be a PGA golf pro. I'm a head golf professional at a course here, mountain course. It's actually the course I grew up on. So I came back home and am managing the operations. But my passion and really why I got into the industry was to coach and to teach. And so this year in particular, I've been giving, 7 to 8 lessons a day, plus clinics, plus, getting people into this game. And then in the wintertime, we get snow. So our golf course is closed down, but people are just still wanting to be happy and healthy and find that indoor. So I am lucky enough that I kind of transition a lot of my clients and a lot of our golfers into our fitness. We tend to bring it into I do a spring training clinics, I do personal training. So it's really incorporating and keeping them working on their games throughout the season. Actually, even though I'm in the winter kind of up here in Lake Tahoe, this has been across my career as a PGA pro. I've been able to take clients of mine and help them swing a golf club a little better, but I also get to work in them in the gym. And then we, of course, all the mental side. So yeah, I kind of get to incorporate them all in my profession, run the operations, run the business part, but then also get people in the game and get them playing better and stay connected to it. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's start with the fitness side. So, where do you see a lot of your athletes requesting, or where do you see hey, I want this in the gym, or I need to improve this in the gym?
It all comes, I'm lucky enough that a lot of my clients, it comes from their golf. So they come to me wanting to improve their golf game. And almost within the first 5 minutes, do they talk about, sometimes it's aches and pains. I mean, that's a lot of the clientele. They come to being like, hey, I really want to play this game for a long time, but I'm worried that my shoulders are hurting, my knees are hurting, my back's hurting. Is it because of my golf swing or what's going on? And right away, I become, a little bit of a swing coach of hey, what are some things that need to happen in your golf swing? But almost right away, it's what mobility issues do we have? What, flexibility issues, what stability issues do we have? Where do we need to find that? And how much is that going to improve not only their overall wellness and fitness, but their golf game? So kind of that's where I start. They come to me because they want to be better at golf, but almost right away, and every single client, do I have them doing exercises as well as practicing their golf game. So it's a good connection. I'm really fortunate to have that ability to kind of see that right away. They, I had a client just recently, this was kind of fun. He came to me going, I need a bigger backswing. And I said, okay, well, I get that. And so he's like, I seeked you out because of your kinesiology background and I want a bigger backswing. And so we kind of talked about it. And through some assessments, I said, we can get you a bigger backswing, but if you want to improve your golf game, we got to get your hip mobility. We got to get you to your finish. You can't, get over to your left side. So we ended up coming up with an exercise program and really had nothing to do with this golf swing almost right away. And so my fitness focus, and this is with my non-golfers, is finding stability and then being able to find the mobility, because everyone kind of needs that. And it's from my scratch golfers to my 40 handicap, index golfers. They pretty much all need the same foundations. And that's kind of where it gets started.
Yeah. So, I mean, like one of the things, so as the jock, right, I'm the golf conditioning coach. And it's like, what I really like to see there is, well, so I'm TPI certified, and we really come from that team approach. And so you get to see all the aspects, right? You get to see the swing, you see the physical, you have the mental and everything like that. And so for you are like the team all in one. And so, when they come to you, okay, well, this is what their swing is doing. This is how they move in their swing. Like, how can we improve that? Or what do we need to work on from a mobility perspective or stability perspective in the gym to help with that swing? So like, that's perfect. I love the team approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So I guess moving into more of the mental side then, what are you doing for these clients on the mental side, if anything specifically, or is it just more like, hey, like I'm giving them mental advice as we kind of go through work in the gym, on the course, on the range, so things?
Yeah. Again, kind of talking about that team approach. Most people come to a trainer or a golf instructor because they're coming to want to improve something, or something's going wrong, right? So a lot of the times, and I have to say, if it's a fitness client that doesn't have anything to do with golf, or it's a golf client, I feel like it's automatic. One of their first things is it's fear. They come to me with this like fear or a little bit of a negative almost outlook on what's going on in their physical fitness and in their golf game. So it's that first right away is coming over that barrier of like, what's going on mentally and physically that's really kind of holding you back of your potential, right? That's kind of what it is. So I certainly kind of start off with, it's all these things. I unfortunately, you hear this a lot, I'm sure, is like, well, I don't want to come over the top. Well, I don't want to, change postures. I don't want to hit it into the water. I don't want to do these things that are going bad in their game. And so it's kind of right away is reframing, and it's behavioral management, right? Right away, it's what are we actually trying to accomplish here? And so we start off with goal setting automatically. It's like, why did you come to me? What are you seeking? And then how are we going to get there? So I think that right away is just essential for any instructor, golf or fitness. And then that way we can build a framework and kind of get over the fear. And that's where it is. I mean, I had so many clients this summer. Our golf courses here in Lake Tahoe have a creek running through them all. And it's getting over the creek, or I've already hit one in the creek. Like, how do I, overcome that fear of doing it again? Or on the next tee, I just topped my last tee shot. So now I'm carrying that over into the next hole. The great thing about where I am in my situation is I get to go on the course. So I don't have to sit on the range, and you try to use imagery of like, okay, you're on the, sixth hole and you're trying to get it over the creek. And I actually get to take them out there. And so we go through that positive affirmation and the positive things that we're working on the range and working on in the gym. Okay, here's your chance to actually use it without going with the fear aspect. And I think that's kind of the leading force in the sports psychology side, at least with my clientele, of just really, overcoming the negatives. They came to me in the first place with kind of a negative attitude because they're not playing well, or they're not feeling well, or they just have these aches and pains. So getting them to feel good, getting ball flight to change right away, and just really feeling like they have a plan and they have a positive outlook on it. So yeah, that's
awesome.
Cool.
And it's funny because listening to you talk, there are a couple of things that kind of jumped out to me. I'm big proponent of kind of redefining success, right? I think so many athletes come to us with this idea of what success looks like, and it's very sort of binary, right? Either I win or I lose, I'm stronger or I'm not, like, but it's nuanced, right? And so for me, like, I'm a big proponent of emphasizing attitudes, efforts, daily improvement, right? Because those are the things that we have constant control over. But the thing that I really want to point on is most people know that their approach or their thinking is wrong, or that it's not conducive to optimal performance. But just like you live in the forest up in Tahoe, right? It takes a long time to develop a walkway through that forest. It takes a long time to develop a pathway through that forest. But once that pathway is developed, it's so much easier to go through that pathway. So all of these negative thoughts, they know that they're not facilitative. They know that they're not beneficial, but it's easy, right? It's easy for me to fall right into that pathway. And so I always try and encourage clients. I'm like, hey, I get it, right? You have that worn out path of negative thinking, of self-doubt, of I can't do this. Let's try and blaze another trail, right? Let's try and build another pathway through that forest that's going to maybe take a little bit of time, but eventually the same way that you have that one pathway that's not beneficial, we're going to develop a pathway that is a little more beneficial. So I love that sort of idea.
Yeah.
Bill,
To touch. Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, to touch upon that, what I was thinking about, and I was having a conversation with my friend, is the idea of correction versus conditioning, right? So they want something corrected, instantaneous gratification, that negative thought, that, that path, that long kind of path that you got to get through. So that's all I talk about. This is a conditioning, it's not a strength and conditioning where we're going to be, on the driving range for 3 hours and all this kind of stuff, but it's this path that we just it might take a little longer, but yeah, it's more about the conditioning and not correction. Because I think if we go into it like, I need this corrected right away, as you were saying, you're not going to be able to find a path. It's just point A to point B isn't so easy as you said that, point A to point B when the negative thought's easy, but right.
So easy.
Yeah. Good.
Joe, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so like from a strength and conditioning perspective, like everybody wants that. From all the perspectives, right? Everybody wants that instant gratification. And one of the things that I, preface like early on is there's no rush here, right? I mean, like, it doesn't matter if you're that junior golfer or if you're that individual that, is in their 50s, still, like, there's no rush. Like, let's set these good foundations and build on that. I really explain and I kind of go through like a hiring process with my clients, and I kind of feel them out and I say, is this person just wanting to come in for 4 sessions and think that they're going to be done after 4 sessions? Or is this person do they have that mindset of, hey, this is long-term, we're going to learn, we're going to condition, and we're going to create those lasting habits that are going to stick with us forever, right? And that's really good. I think that we're all on the same page there, and really getting individuals to understand, not short term, this is long term. You do have to put in some work, but it's going to pay off in the end.
Absolutely.
All right. So kind of pivoting a little bit, you've had the benefit to play at a really high level. I mean, you played at San Diego State. You also coached at San Diego State. You guys had a lot of success while you were a coach there. Do you see any big differences, both physically and mentally, from, say, the high-level golfer and in comparison to, say, more of the recreational golfer? And if so, what are those?
Expectations. That's I honestly approach, like I said before, my scratch golfer, my professional, golfer. I caddied for a girl that was, on the Symetra tour. I, worked with some junior golfers that were ready to go play. So I worked with those almost the exact same way I work with my 45 handicapper. However, the expectations, right? So that's kind of, I know that sounds tough, and, it's a hard conversation when, they expect to, I mean, it's good timing. I'll never forget a client of mine. He's 65 in at the Presidio when I was down in San Francisco. And he came to me and he had a really, really shut club face. So we're getting in the, mechanics. And I go, where's that coming from? Like, why are we doing this? I always go with the whys, and then we figure out the hows and what the expectations are. And he goes, well, I really want to swing like Dustin Johnson. And I go, yeah, I mean, shoot, me too. I would love to. So it was just, this was 3 years ago. So it was kind of a fun time to bring this analogy up. But I mean, he used Dustin Johnson as his example. And I go, okay, well, we need a lot faster hip swing. If the reasons why he can have such a shut club face is he is like driving his hips faster than you and I could combined after spending months in the gym, so those are kinds of things that I find the biggest difference is we see so many of our golfers watch golf on TV and watch the college players, and the expectations are just a little bit different. But honestly, the approach of the same things that I was talking about before is, overcoming barriers and making sure that we're not fear driven when it comes to the coach, right? You're coming to a coach, or, a lot of the athletes when I was at San Diego State, they didn't have a choice. They had to have a coach, right? So they didn't, to kind of really emphasize, and I do this with my students from, again, at any age, is what are you doing well and what can we improve? It's not all about what you're doing wrong. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun thing to see such a wide range of players. I even did a clinic of six players, and I had a 2 index and I had a 45 index. So within the same 3-hour clinic, I had to approach it pretty much the same way and make sure that they both get enough out of it. And it's tough. It's definitely tough. But again, if you set this right expectations, then I think you're going to have a little more success.
Also, too, I think we've all probably noticed that when you can simplify it, right, then the more and more that you can simplify, it's going to be, applicable to everybody that, +2 to that 30 handicapper. That's one of the things that I actually have a tendency, I get a little bit too complicated sometimes, but I mean, like, bring it back to the basics, and everybody can benefit from that and build from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Wait. No. Let me stop for a second, because I have something funny for you. So you would think that me being like the psychology guy, like I'm always going to be like emphasizing like, oh, like really, really like detailed, like thought processes and routines and all that. And it's like, there's a piece of that. But you want to know one of the things that I always try and get my athletes to do? I try and get them to be athletes. I always say, hey, like imagine you're Steph Curry running down the break, right? Somebody passes you the ball. Are you going to think much about taking that shot, or are you just going to let it rip? And they're like, wow, I've never thought about that. I'm like, hey, if you're a hockey player and somebody gives you a one-timer and that puck hits the tape on your stick, what are you going to do? They're like, rip it. I'm like, yeah, you're not thinking about the details, right? That's before, that's on the range, that's during preparation. And so really that idea of simplification, huge, right? It's so valuable.
Yeah. One of my mentors in the game is exactly like that. He used to, and I carry this philosophy in all aspects, is mastering the fundamentals. If you can master the fundamentals mentally, physically, and approaching the basics of a putting grip and all that, it goes back to simplifying. And again, I talk a lot of the athletes, right? Don't know that they have mastered the fundamentals. And if they stray away from it, sometimes I go back to grip with a plus handicapper. You just the simplifying. And like you said, I love being the athlete. So many players ask like, okay, well, if I'm on an uphill lie with the pin on the back and and it's like, where's my weight supposed to be? And they go through their check mark. And I go, if by the time you get to the check mark, you're, the bottom of your list, you're way out of time and it's not going to be good. So I say, like, when you walk up to your ball, react to it. How does it feel? How do you feel? And hit it, and then go find it. Yeah, I love simplifying it and just the reactive type of approach. It's great.
Well, I mean, watching the Masters and stuff like that, like we see it all the time. I mean, I was watching Justin Thomas, and he's doing every shot now. I don't know how long he's been doing this, but he pulls it right back, checks his club, and that's back to the basics. Mike Weir used to do it as well, on every single shot. And it's like, these guys are the top of the top, and they're bringing it back to those basics because they understand how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, got a question for you. So, what I want to know is, like, do you see a breakdown in golfers' attitudes, towards fitness or the mental game, when it comes to progressing their game? And what I mean by that is, we all know that, the mental game is the most important part of this game, yet how many people are actually working on the mental side of their game? Like, they know that it's important, but like actually working on it, like they hit the range or they hit the gym. Like, where are you noticing this breakdown, and why?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a struggle. And I know this, it comes down to how you said you interview like all of your clients. That's kind of how I feel too. I start with them and say, like, hey, we're going to be working on stuff. And in a short season for us up here too, this is a hard conversation. It's a hard line of, I don't want you to waste your money and or your time if all we're going to do is either the only time you're going to practice is on the range with me, or even just on the range. Or a lot of my clients don't even do that, and they just think they can go play. So having that conversation, and that hard conversation of, it's almost like your money back guarantee if I don't lower your handicap. But that I couldn't do that because that relies so much on them. So I think everyone knows the fitness and the mental part of the game is a big deal. But yes, a lot of them don't think, like, they want to kind of take up the opportunity of just being able to go play, instantaneous gratification. So that is the biggest struggle, I think, in my industry, as far as being the golf and fitness side and having a little bit mental of, if they don't see improvement, then I'm not as a good instructor. So we really, the only way to kind of get through that interview, finding out what barriers they need to overcome. Is it a physical barrier? Is it a mental barrier? Are they just kind of wanting to learn a little bit more of like what's going on with your game? So I'm a very stats driven type of instructor as well. So I set up, I kind of asked them about the game, and, half of our conversation is, how many greens did you hit? How did you feel? What's kind of going on? That kind of thing. So that helps a lot, is being a little bit more stat driven. And then I can kind of prove to them. I also do measurable practice. We have to get through that measurement of how many up and downs are you really getting, and how many times are you hitting the greens, so then if it's measurable practice, I then can find out what's going on, the why, because I'm not going to figure out the how. I can tell them to get their club face square at the top of their swing all day long, but that's not going to help them if they're still missing greens because they're swinging with fear, their hesitation, or they don't have the, mobility to get to the finish. So they're leaving, all those things. So it's a lot about the interview. And I think it's starting to come out in our industry a little bit more of, watching the guys on tour and the ladies on tour, their fitness and mental stability is just amazing to watch. And I think people are striving to that, even though I can't get them to swing like Dustin Johnson most of the time. We can start to kind of talk about how even he was and how even keel he was, and the fitness side of things. It is starting to be a little bit more driven. People are starting to realize that they want to play this game for the rest of their life. So it's a longevity type of feeling. So the fitness thing, I think, is probably the easiest, as far as people are starting to kind of, okay, I not only can see benefits of, spending time with a trainer or in the gym, or, working on my mobility at home, I can see the benefits. They're starting to see it. And so that's definitely, it's getting better. It's getting easier there. The mental side, I don't think people realize that takes work too, that our brain's a little bit of a muscle. And so it's that conversation, that interview. Yeah. I don't think anyone's actually ever really tried to seek me out for that solely. Right. But as conversations, maybe our second, third session, they just start to ask you, start to ask you kind of deep questions. You end up being like a little more, they realize that how important it is because of the questions we ask, the open-ended questions and the stuff there. And so it's not it's not the first step. It's not why they come to you, but they realize how beneficial it is and that they have to work on it.
And it trickles into the lessons or the fitness session and everything like that. Yeah. The biggest thing that I think is it's communication. Like we as the professionals, we need to, explain, right? We need to educate and say, these are other important aspects, like you can get off the driving range, like you can get off the course and do other things that are going to help elevate your game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Ashbrook, what do you have to say?
Well, I was thinking about the Masters and, talking about how even keeled Dustin was. The thing that impressed me the most from the mental side is, I don't know if you saw Tiger making a 10 on 12, but that alone, so you make a 10 on 12, like that's brutal. To birdie 5 of your next 6 holes coming in, that's next world, right? Like that's insane how good and your ability to literally let that go and say, all right, I can't change it. Now I just need to worry about the next one. Like that was incredibly impressive.
Yep.
So.
And that's, and that's where I wonder if you guys come hear this too, is they come to me and ask me, I want better consistency. I go, well, that sounds right. We want a consistent thing, but golf is not consistent, so we are going to get a 10, but then we're also going to be, if we bring that fear of whatever miss we just had onto the next shot, it's not the same shot, not if you're hitting the same shot twice in a row, you've done something wrong. Right. So, that is huge. And I don't think people realize that until someone says it out loud. Like, hey, consistency is a great thing, but the game's not consistent. So we have to be able to change our attitude from shot to shot, not just hole by hole.
But that's like the same issue that they run into from the driving range to the course, right? Everybody's like, oh, I'm a driving range pro. And then they get on the course and they're like, I can't keep the ball in play. And it's like, well, yeah, because you hit 87 drivers in a row and you're just peering it. Yeah. And now you have to walk 5 minutes, hit a driver, wait 5 minutes, hit a wedge, putt. Yeah. Like variability is very challenging. So
go ahead.
It's common. Yeah, I was just going to say, like, it's common sense to us, right? That's the funny thing. I was talking to this again. I had a conversation about the basics, and it seems common sense. Like, oh yeah, the driving range has nothing to do with the game. But as soon as you kind of lay it out there for them and give them examples, just like the Tiger example and all that, what we were, just talking about, they kind of like that light bulb goes off in their head. Like, oh yeah, like, I guess I should practice like the game mentally, physically, and actual physical golf practice, so that's so true.
So I have a question for both of you. Like, what are your go-to explanations if someone comes to you and says, like I just had, 2 really bad holes in a row and I just couldn't let it go? What are your go-to, what is your go-to explanation for them to get them to say, hey, you know what, forget about it, moving on, this is what's important? Ashley, you can go first.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of want, again, my thing is, and I know this is used a little bit overkill of positive affirmation, but I tell them to like use their mistakes as learning experiences. Okay, I'm now teaching you how to be your own coach on the course. So if you end up topping the ball, right, and I kind of told you like, hey, that's probably because of X, Y, and Z. So now you kind of know why you missed it the certain way. And then we talk about, okay, every time we walk up to the bunkers, I know this comes up a lot, right? You're obviously, you're in the middle of the fairway. You just saw that you hit it into the bunker. You now have probably like 10 minutes, maybe if you're playing with other people, maybe a little less, maybe 6 minutes or so of before you get to hit that shot. But that's 6 minutes of fear, right? Because so many times people walk into the bunker of like, oh my gosh, I'm really bad out of the bunkers. I just scolded bunker shot 3 holes ago. Like all of a sudden I'm just like, oh my gosh, now I have like this time. So then I get up to it. I was like, okay, but Ashley told me to relax. Ashley told me to like think positively. I'm like, yeah, but that's so much time. And to be okay with it, to be okay that you're going to have these nerves. So then it's then going back to the basics. Okay, what is a bunker shot? Where do I get that loose grip pressure? How do I get the, hands behind, whatever it might be? You then take that fear and say like, hey, this is what just happened. I'm okay with it because it happens, but this is a totally different shot than the third hole. I'm on the 12th hole. Like this is totally different. It has nothing to do with the past. And because I'm fear, and I always take the nerves or the frustration as like a positive sign, like, hey, that means you care. That means you want to do well. If you're thinking these things, that's good. Let's use them for, your next approach to be maybe a little bit more, strategic on where you're going to hit it and take that shot one shot at a time. Again, is used a lot in our golf sports psychology, but, knowing that it has nothing to do with the last shot or the last hole. Trying not to be score driven and being outcome driven has also been a really successful approach with my clients, is not necessarily score, but outcome for each shot, and kind of analyzing, spending that few minutes. I call it like the think box, like hitting it. And if you hit it well, think about it. Why did you hit it well? If you hit it bad, think about it. Why did you hit it bad? And then as soon as you walk away, you get 5 seconds. And as soon as you walk away, then you're done. Now you're going to move on and then get to the next shot and get there. And it's a totally different shot. So, but it's okay to think about those negative thoughts. It's okay. Like that, it's okay approach. And then reframing them, redirecting them to get you to hit the next shot successfully.
That's great. That's great. Paul,
for
go
me,
for it.
The one thing I do to help athletes refocus really quick is I call it the 4 Fs. So you just screwed up. You just messed up. The first thing that's coming out of your mouth is a 4-letter word that begins with F. I'm going to let you guys figure out what word that is. That's okay, right? So many people in the sports psychology world are like, no, be a robot, like be even keel. It's like, no, we're human. Like we screw up. It's okay to get mad. But where people mess up is they just stay mad, right? They keep making the same mistake over and over again. So F number 2 is you need to fix it, right? You need to understand what it is that you did wrong. So, hey, was my grip off? Was my mindset off? Whatever it might be. And you can either physically fix it with a practice swing. You can mentally fix it sort of in your head. But at that point, you can't change it, right? So F number 3 is you have to forget it, right? And the best analogy I've ever heard is Cal State Fullerton. Their men's baseball team used to have a mini toilet in their dugout. So after every single at bat, their players would go over to the toilet and they would flush that at bat down the drain. That's exactly what that is, right? You can't change it. You can't do anything differently with it. Just let it go and forget about it. And at that point, then you can refocus. And the one sort of thing that I like to remind people of when refocusing is the goal of athletics is to always win, right? That's just what sports is. But for our purposes, it's not about winning the competition. It's about remembering what's important now. If you remember what's important now, you can help yourself be refocused in the moment. So.
Yeah, I like that.
Beautiful.
Awesome. All right. So we got a couple minutes left. Ashley, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you and all of that fun jazz.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, we have some online videos if you want to go to like YouTube videos, golf incline courses. There's a couple of our fun instructional videos. I do some exercises, some in-home stuff, but a lot of golf tips there. My email is really easy. It's ashleywoodgolf@gmail.com. So that's really great. And then, I'm around Incline's a small little town, and Lake Tahoe is kind of a beautiful place to come and golf. So I hope, whoever's listening, if you end up coming up here, find me an Incline. It's not hard to find. And let's kind of talk some more golf and golf psychology. But yeah, with our virtual world right now, I am pretty accessible online. I have quite a few online, little tidbits that I'm, adding to our YouTube channels, and some emails, and some, just things that you can do to keep focus and keep positive right now. That's kind of what we all need to. Staying happy and healthy has been my mantra for a long time. And I think golf and fitness is, a great outlet for that right now. So we're in a tough time, but I think, for our perspective, we can really, capitalize on staying happy and healthy through these different things. So yeah, email me, Ashley Wood Golf, but YouTube at Golf Incline is really good too. We got a lot going on here, even in the winter with our ski resorts opening up, but we have an indoor simulator. It's a cool place to be. So, it's a little oasis, I think, up here in Lake Tahoe.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure. It's good to catch up a little bit, and let's not make it several years before we catch up again. Absolutely.
I would definitely like that. So hope to see you soon in real life as well.
Yeah, for sure. We'll make it happen.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.